What's up guys, it's Twice, and today I have an updated deck profile for you. This is going to be my updated Beast Deity deck. I know the last one that I showed you was pretty rudimentary. It hadn't gotten all the cards yet, and frankly I didn't even have all the ethics busters yet. But now I have all the cards. I completely redid the deck. I watched a couple of videos, I looked up some deck lists online, asked a couple players at our shop for some help, and I think I found a deck build that I really like. It's been super consistent, and it's pretty good at replenishing the field and maintaining hand control. Anyway, so we're going to start right off, and my starting Vanguard is, of course, Beast Deity Riot Horn. Came out in set 10. I would say this is one of the best starting Vanguards in the game right now. So his ability is, he's a Forerunner. When he is on the rearguard circle, when the rearguard in front of him stands, that if the rearguard has Beast Deity in its name, he stands as well. So you can imagine, like, let's say you have like a Hatred Chaos in front of him, so Hatred Chaos stands, then he's going to stand as well. Basically, the idea behind this card is that you're restanding a column, and you are making your opponent guard for 5 more in shield, because, of course, he has 5k in power. So the more shield that you force out from your opponent's hand, the less presence that they have, the less of an advantage that they have. So this card is usually a target for things like Linshu, or just anything that can retire grade 0s. So some people have wanted to run more than one in a deck. I don't think that's really necessary, but he's super consistent, super easy to use, but always place him behind a rearguard column. That way you can just consistently stand him for whenever you stand at Beast Deity. Anyway, so now we're going to move on to the triggers. I like this trigger lineup a lot better than what I used to have. So first off, I run 4 Red Lightnings. He's a crit trigger. He's from set 2, but you can get him in the Extra Booster Infinite Phantom Legion as well. His ability is you put him into the soul and you unflip damage. So it's pretty useful, especially because Illuminal Dragon requires 3 counterblasts, and this deck has gotten much better at unflipping damage, so it's really nice to run him. And then I run 2 Fighting Battleship Prometheus, so 6 crit in total. I don't run any stand triggers in this deck anymore, just because it's much easier to stand these guys just with abilities than with triggers, and stand triggers aren't very helpful early game. And then I run 4 the Gongs, because he's a really interesting looking draw trigger. And then I run 2 3 minutes, so 6 draw triggers in total. I really like Nova Grappler draw triggers, they're really interesting looking. But yes, that 6 draw triggers really helps with the hand control, especially early game. Just build up your hand nice and early, and you know, it coincides with the critical triggers really well. Just basically you want to make sure that you are getting your hand very sizable. That way, when your opponent starts knocking out your rearguards, if they do, then you can replace them pretty easily. And then I have 4 Ring Girl Claras because, you know, 4 heal triggers. Alright, and then on to the grade 1s, I have 4 Beast Deity Blank Marsh. So Blank Marsh's skill, he actually has the same skill as White Tiger did, the old Forerunner. So Blank Marsh, when an attack hits a Vanguard that he boosts, you can counterblast 1 card, put him into the soul, and then stand a Beast Deity. So he combos pretty well, especially with things like Golden Anglet, because Golden Anglet gets 3,000 power when he stands back up. So you can, in combination with this card and like Illuminal Dragon's Limit Break or Ethics Buster, be able to stand a certain rearguard twice, especially Golden Anglet. That way he has a 15k base. So with Blank Marsh, he's a solid 7k booster, and he's a Beast Deity, so he's just an overall good staple to have in the deck. And when I make this deck an Ethics Buster Extreme deck, I'm probably going to keep 4 in this deck because he's just so useful at restanding units. Alright, and then of course, as I always say, in the world of cross rides, break rides, and cross break rides, we always run 4 Perfect Guards. Especially now that we finally got our cross break ride for English meta, which is Falling Saber Dragon Reverse. When set 13 comes out, ooh, the cross break rides. But yes, in a meta where numbers hit higher than ever, where you have things like Eradicators, where you have cards that can hit amazing numbers consistently, you need 4 Perfect Guards. It's necessary. We don't get a Quintet Wall and Nova Grappler, unfortunately, so I'm probably not going to be switching out these guys. But when Solar Falcon comes out, I will be switching Twin Blader out for him, because you're going to need Beast Deities if you're going to want to run Ethics Buster Extreme. Anyway, so then I run 3 Tough Boys, so the AK Vanilla. This card is actually surprisingly really helpful in the deck. Even though he's not a Beast Deity, putting him behind Ethics Buster means that you're swinging for 21 with your Vanguard column, so you're going to force out at least a 15k shield from your opponent's hand. That way, you know, they can at least guard for 1 trigger to pass. So the more hand that you're forcing out with Tough Boy boosting Ethics Buster, or like with Riot Horn standing up with other cards, the more of a hand advantage you will have, especially in combination with those draw triggers. So that's kind of what the idea of the deck is now, is to keep a hand advantage, be able to replace units, and to, when I have a full field, be able to defend that field with a larger hand. And that's exactly what Tough Boy helps me with. Plus, a solid 8k booster never really hurt anyone. Alright, and then moving on, I used to run 4 of these guys, now I'm down to 2, and that is Beast Deity, Hilarity, Destroyer. Frankly, I find him very disappointing for a card. His ability is when his attack hits a Vanguard, you can drop and draw, and frankly, it's almost useless, because unless you do a first turn ride with him, and then hit with that attack, and then do a drop and draw, I mean, you're really not going to be using his ability. He's a 7k booster and he's a Beast Deity, and I guess that's really what his biggest benefit is. I really don't know why they couldn't just give us the K-clone Desert Gator now, or like make him the K-clone, because it would have been a lot more useful for this deck. But, you know, running more Beast Deities, it's kind of necessary right now because we're so, you know, slim in options. And I'm certainly not going to put Scarlet Bird back in here. And then, this is my techie card. This is going to be Claydol Mechanic. It's very simple. He's a 7k booster and he unflips damage. So if I have Illuminal Dragon out and I just use a Limit Break, call him, use it again, and finish off my opponent. And I've done that, like, I think 3 times now with Claydol Mechanic, because, you know, just being able to call stuff and unflip damage, it's just useful. He helps out especially if I use Blank Marsh early game and I just need to get rid of that counterblast that I used for Blank Marsh. So yeah, I definitely like running Claydol Mechanic. Anyway, on to the grade 2s. So I run, of course, 4 Hatred Chaos. Hatred Chaos is our Bedivere, Burning Horn Dragon, whatever you want to call it. He's the 12k swinger for Beast Deity, and he is extremely useful in this deck, especially because we're so good at standing units now that it means you're going to be able to get off those 12k attacks more often. Him in combination with Riot Horn is amazing, because Riot Horn will make him attack for 17, and then if you get a trigger and you're able to like restand him, then he's going to be swinging for 22. So that additional +3, I think, is really, really beneficial for Beast Deities of all the archetypes. I think they can definitely benefit the most from it. But Hatred Chaos is absolutely a staple for any Beast Deity deck. I'm definitely going to be running 4 of him when I get Ethics Buster Extreme. Anyway, then the next grade 2 that I run is, of course, a classic, and that is Beast Deity Golden Anglet. Golden Anglet's ability is that when he is restood during your battle phase, he gets plus 3,000 power. And that ability stacks, meaning that if you're able to stand him twice, you can give him plus 6,000 power and he has 15k base. I've done that a couple of times with this deck. It was better when I had stand triggers, because, you know, it was just easier to stand it back up multiple times. But he's not as useful as Hatred Chaos, because Hatred Chaos gets the plus 3k anyway, just when he attacks, and Golden Anglet has to stand again in order to swing for the same as Hatred Chaos. So I would prefer to have Hatred Chaos on the rear guard other than Golden Anglet, but there are times when Golden Anglet is definitely preferred, because I do have the ability to put him at 15k base and with the trigger make him swing for 20, which means I can kill any rear guard I want and attack a Vanguard for a hefty amount. So I still will probably run 4 Golden Anglets, especially when Ethics Buster Extreme comes out, because it's going to be so easy to stand units. And then for right now, I just run 2 Kings of Sword, because it's a good grade 2 ride, you know, having that 10k base. Unfortunately, he's not a Beast Deity. I wish we had Damned Leo too, but the last set 13 coming out May 2nd, that's when we're going to get all that stuff. Alright, and then on to the grade 3s. You know, it's very simple. I'll be running 4 Beast Deity Ethics Buster. So Ethics Buster is the only break ride that we have right now for Nova Grappler, and we're going to get Mon Blauklieger with the extra booster, Champions of the Cosmos. His ability is Break Ride. Vanguard gets plus 10,000 power. When your Vanguard attacks, you stand your front row rear guards. And in combination with Riot Horn, that means that you're going to be able to stand like a whole column. I used to run stand triggers in this deck alongside him, which means I was able to stand all of my rear guards, essentially. But it's just really not that useful. The idea is to Break Ride Ethics Buster over Ethics Buster to continually pressure your opponent. And if you're sitting on an Ethics Buster, boost him with a Tough Boy to force out shield. That is why he's such a good card. It's easy to get for him to get that plus 2,000 power, and it's really useful to run to Break Right Ethics Buster over Ethics Buster. But, of course, we can't forget our boss card of the deck, our gift from set 9, and that is Ultra Beast Deity Illuminal Dragon, which of course I run 4 of. Unfortunately, no cross-ride anymore of this deck. I got rid of my Astro Dragons. I still have them, just because they're so classic and they're so trolly. But Illuminal Dragon Limit Break, Counterblast 3 when he attacks, you stand 2 Beast Deities. You can use this guy in combination with Ethics Buster to stand all of your rear guards, but it's much better to use the Break Ride the first turn that you have Illuminal Dragon as your Vanguard, and then the next turn use Illuminal Dragon's Limit Break to just get out more pressure on your opponent. He's very good at doing that. He's very good at forcing shield. I really wish that I could still give him that 13k base, but alas, I no longer run Azure Dragon. Ethics Buster Extreme is going to come out in set 13. I can't wait to fit this deck towards that. It's going to be a super awesome deck. That's going to be probably the first deck that I build with set 13 of all the decks that I will have to build when set 13 comes out. Anyway, so I hope you guys like it. The deck is finally finished. I like it. It runs very consistently. I'm going to hopefully get a fight up between this deck and maybe something else in a couple of days, but I'm going to be away from town for a few days this weekend. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day and keep card fighting, and we'll see you next time.